Wandering Winder, talking once again about openings. This time, I want to talk about Importer. So, Importer takes 2 turns and is a terminal, but it will get you a card costing up to 5. It also has this setup stuff. Now, the setup stuff can have a huge impact on the opening, but there are 23 different allies, and I'm not going to go through each different one and how having 5 favors affects the game. Do note it will affect the game in a lot of cases early on, and so that is going to somewhat diminish how useful this look at openings that is ally agnostic is. For instance, in this case, gaining a card, you got to put it on your deck. That is going to have an impact on whether Importer is good or not. It's actually probably one of the trickier ones, but I haven't really analyzed it. My general feel for each of the allies in each of these situations is you're going to have to figure it out. In this case, it's probably making Importer better, but the thing to note is some of the allies might make opening Importer better, some of them might make it worse. They're mostly going to make it better, but what I mean by making it worse is they could make the alternative to Importer better to an extent which is larger than how much they make Importer better. Therefore, in comparison, making Importer worse, right? Make you less likely to want to open Importer is maybe a simpler way of saying that. But let's look in the ally agnostic space right now at 2 openings. One is Importer Importer. Importer Importer. So if you open Importer Importer, yeah, the case is you want to get the Importer on turn 3. How likely are you to do that? Well, there's a just under 32% chance that you will miss Importer on turn 3, which leaves, of course, a little over 68%, so a bit better than 2/3, not a lot better than 2/3, that you're going to find at least one Importer on turn 3. You have a 30%, a little over 30% chance, so a slightly lower chance than the chance you miss Importer on turn 3, to have the Importers collide on either turn 3 or turn 4. So that's a little over 30% to get collision, but if you're opening double Importer, you're hopefully not too worried about the collision thing. But overall, the 68% chance to hit an Importer by turn 3 is just not that high. You're gonna, be able to get your 5 on turn 4. You're probably, this is actually extremely lucky, you're probably not going to be able to buy a 5. And just like, what are you doing? Most of the cases where you have exactly one, so you're 53% to have exactly one Importer on turn 3, and most of those cases, 5/7 of the time of that, you're going to hit the other one on turn 4. But the important thing to note is that the turn 4 Importer does not get you a 5 cost until after you've shuffled at the end of turn 4. So if instead of Importer, which is only going to get me, 0.685s on turn 3 or 4, and is only going to get me a 5 68% of the time by that turn 4 shuffle, which is like worse than silver. So generally, I'd say not a very good opening. What if I go Importer silver? Well, in this case, I can get a 5 by playing the Importer on turn 3. I can also get a 5 by hitting 5 money. What are my chances of each of those things? So my chances of hitting 5 money, it's like in the intro to the opening series that we talked about. If you open silver and just some junk card, you're just under 50% to hit 5 on turn 3 or 4. That's true here. The Importer doesn't help you at all and gets in your way. You're also right 5/12 to play the Importer on turn 3. That's about 41%. So you're looking at around 90%, it would seem. You have some chance of hitting double 5. What is the math on that? That's a hair under 19% of hitting 5 twice. And then your chance to miss 5 overall, 28%, 27.777%. So overall, I don't think this is a very good opening either. I should say there are some caveats. So in these cases, you play the importer on turn 4. It misses the shuffle, which makes your turn 5, 6 a little bit better, as well as getting you the 5 cost at the start of turn 5. So that is a little bit of an upside compared to just the bad numbers at hitting 5. And on top of that, you have the importer in your deck for later instead of the silver or whatever other card, which if the importer is going to be particularly good later on and or the silver or whatever other card is not so good, then maybe you could go for it. Just the thing is, typically you would think you want to do this to be getting to either to more 5s or 5s faster. This doesn't get you more 5s or 5s faster very quickly. Eventually, over the course of a long game, it is extra gains, so it might gain you extra 5s. But that's going to take some shuffles. And like we saw in the 1.1 Dominion Strategy Basics series, workshops are slow. This is a workshop variant. And part of the reason why I don't like opening this card generally, and workshops generally, is that so you're slow to get ahead, and in the meantime you're slower, which means you're buying worse cards, and there can be a bit of a snowball effect. I don't have my 5 on turn 5 or 6, or on turn 5 or 6. And that means that my buys on turns 5 or 6 are worse than they would have been if I would have hit 5 on turn 3 or 4, which continues to compound and continues to compound. And it becomes quite questionable as to whether you ever catch up. So the biggest reason that I think you would actually want to open importer would be specifically because there is some ally that synergizes with opening importer particularly well as opposed to your other options. It's not just that it's a strong ally, it's that it is an ally that particularly synergizes with importer. For instance, there's one that lets you play a card as soon as you gain it, right? So in that case, turn 1 importer, play it. Turn 2 you gain the 5 cost. If it's an action, you can immediately play it, right? So that might be a reason why, oh, well, in this case, I'm going to open importer. But there are going to be other allies which cycle through you through your deck, which depending on exactly when and how they cycle you, may be good for importer, maybe not. You're going to have to figure it out with the particular ally in hand. Like I say, there's 23 of them. I don't want this video to last half an hour. So we're going to stop it here rather than go through all of them. But yeah, I would tend to not recommend opening importer very often. Thanks for watching.